Hello, hello. Welcome back. Nicole Holland here. Super excited to have you with us today. My guest for this masterclass is Jon Schumacher. He's the founder of Marketing Mastery Media Inc., a digital marketing agency focused on helping coaches, consultants, and service providers attract and enroll high-end clients using automation and organic marketing systems. His clients have earned millions of dollars in sales using his strategies, and he's been featured or mentioned in large publications such as the Huffington Post, Entrepreneur, Fox News, and the Good Men Project. And he was my guest back on episode number 4 of the Business Building Rockstar Show in March 2016. It is a pleasure to have him back with us this time for a master class where he's going to be teaching us his expert's profit explosion strategy. Welcome back, Jon.
Woohoo, Nicole, thanks for having me. Excited to blab on about some of my favorite topics, and hopefully others will find some value in it.
I'm sure they will. So before we dive into the steps of the expert's profit explosion strategy, can you just briefly share how you discovered it and how it's helped your clients up till now?
Yeah, so a lot of trial and error. I've been hacking away at this for a few years now, right? Kind of making mistakes, learning what's most important, and kind of evolving over time. As somebody who started, putting up videos on YouTube about 6 years ago to selling little ebooks and courses. And now I've transitioned up to working more with higher end clients and things like that. And I just found that is the fastest path, so to speak, to getting to revenue, to working with less but better clients. And so it's been a bit of an evolution, both through my own workings in my own business and also those I've been working with. So as far as clients, I mean, geez, I've had some people that have completely transformed their lives because of it. A lot of it has to do with the foundation, which I know we'll touch on in a moment, which is your offer. Everything comes down to your offer. If you have a terrible offer, no amount of marketing or funnels or any of that crap is going to help at all, right? So it starts with that. So I've literally had I had a confidence coach I'm working with still, who literally was selling his time for $300 a month, one-on-one, and now he's selling $15,000 packages to bigger and better clients. And so we work together to obviously restructure his offering and help him attract bigger and better clients, and his income has just gone bananas, as you could imagine. So that's just one example. I mean, I've worked with a lot of different experts, everything from selling coaching, consulting to courses over the last few years, and had some good successes along the way. So I feel like it's just a process. I love this stuff. I think about it all the time. I'm very analytical mind, so I always like frameworks and processes and stuff. So I'm always kind of refining, like, what is the most important stuff for an expert who wants to build a solid business, a multiple 6 or even 7-figure business. Like, what does it take to get there, and what are those steps? And so that's how I've kind of molded this process, so to speak.
I love it. And I love that we're having this conversation on air because I've really enjoyed getting to know you and how your brain operates over the past years. And this is going to be fun. A lot of value, I'm sure.
Definitely. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So let's start out with step 1, optimizing your high-end offer. Take us through it.
Yeah. So I look at it as 3 parts, and I'll try to keep my brain organized here. So 3 parts. One is your pricing, one is your structure, and one is how you position it, right? So pricing, structure, positioning. I look at marketing in many ways as psychology and math, right? So there's like math, like if your pricing structure is off, you're screwed, right? If you want to make $500,000 in your business and you're selling, $100 courses, and you don't have a ton of volume coming through your pipeline, you're not going to get there, And it's like, so you need to have your math dialed in. You need to take some time to strategically do this yourself, or work with a coach or somebody who really understands the numbers, because marketing is really just psychology and math. It's words, math, and strategy, right? So words, math, and strategy. And all of those things are brought into this whole pricing, structuring, and messaging framework. So positioning is basically, the words you use to describe it, right? Like, how can you make it sound like, authentically sound like an attractive offer, right? That's a big one. What words are you going to use? What methods are you going to use? How are you going to position it? What risk reversal are you going to bring into the equation so that it becomes more compelling less of a risk for your potential client. These are really important things. I know Perry Marshall talked a lot about this. I'm a big fan of his. I've been a big studier of Jay Abraham and Perry Marshall and these guys, Chet Holmes. Very important component to how they operate is structuring their offer and positioning their offer so that you reduce the amount of tension and flow to getting into that offer. So that's a big part of your positioning, and that's one of the steps. Pricing, I'm a big fan of the higher end stuff. I am for experts. I know there's e-commerce people, there's physical product people, there's print on demand people. I mean, all these other businesses out there. I'm not talking to you necessarily because I don't work with those type of people. But if you're an expert, what I mean by that is like a coach, a consultant, a service provider, course creator, a speaker, a trainer who wants to grow your revenue, which is really what I help people focus on, is like, okay, let's look at where you're at. Let's grow it. Like, let's pull the levers and see if we can improve things. Your pricing is huge, right? And a lot of people are pricing themselves in a position where they're just not going to be able to get to the numbers that they want to get. A big one I see is in the fitness industry, for example. Like, a lot of people are trainers and they help people online lose weight and stuff. But the problem with that, if you just position yourself, it goes back to the positioning, as a fitness trainer who helps people lose weight, well, the consumers' minds are programmed that, a trainer's what, $50 an hour maybe, or something like that. So you need to position yourself not as a fitness trainer. You need to be doing more than that. You need to position yourself as a human performance coach or a transformational. You need to do more than just focus on, I help people lose weight, or you'll be a commodity. So part of it. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a part of, like, we hear all the time, niche, or niche. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. And when you really, really know that you're working with a specific person, a specific type of person, it makes that a bit more, it makes it a bit easier to do, right? Because then you can really speak to your specialty and who you are. Or am I off
Right.
point here?
No. I think it's smart to start with that. Definitely. You can expand, I think, a little bit as you get bigger, right? Like, but you kind of have to earn that almost. Like, it's good to start with, like, I help this person solve this problem by doing this. So that's a good, like, I call it a who, what framework, right? So who do you work with, and what do you do, and how do you do it? So basically that's your elevator pitch or whatever, but it needs to be so clear in your mind, like, I'm helping this person solve this problem. I think a big mistake is, you say, a lot of people try to do too much and they end up being a generalist. It's niching is like, it's a tricky thing, because you could niche. I've seen people niche themselves, like, oh, I got a niche, and they niche themselves into these obscure niches out there that no one really wants, or there's just not a big enough market, or people aren't paying enough money and stuff in those markets. So it comes down to, knowing that, as far as niching, like, are you in a market where there's an actual existing desire? We want to sell people what they want, not what they need necessarily. And it makes it a lot harder to sell if you're just like, well, they should, want this. Why aren't they wanting this? You're fighting an uphill battle. Is that market big enough to support your business goals, right? Are there enough of those people? Can you reach those people? All these factors are really important when kind of deciding on your niche. But I know a lot of your audience probably have already found their niche, so we won't spend too much time on that. But it is an interesting topic.
Yeah, but even maybe about, in taking that fitness professional, for example, and, a transformation, I forget what you said. Um, I think even in that, knowing who the buyer is and
Yep.
speaking to that buyer, because there's always people different people make decisions based on different things. And some people always want premium no matter what. They don't even want to consider other things. So is this something that you look at when you're looking to optimize the high end offer, to find out who's actually looking to buy this and invest at this price point? Or
Yes. Yeah. So one of the most profound statements I've internally, viscerally taken in this year is from our friend Adam, right? Adam Urbanski. And he said, and I really think this is important, and there's a lot to this statement. It seems simple, but it's true. It's not necessarily what you do, but who you do it with. So if you're an expert, yes, you may need to position yourself a certain way. But let's say you're, like, I have a guy who's a confidence coach for men, and that's sort of, we've positioned it better than that, but that's basically what he's doing, is helping these people, become their best selves and attract the right woman and all this kind of stuff. And he was, struggling because people were saying no at 500 a month or whatever. It's like, well, we're not talking with the right people, right? Like we need to speak to the best people. We need to speak to people that are higher up the chain a little bit. So how can we go where those people are? How can we go more where those people are and attract and change our messaging more and all those kind of things to attract those people? And so that's a huge statement. So yes, it is important to know who your ideal target is, definitely. And that could be, in their vocation, in their income levels, what their pains and problems are. There's a number of factors there. But yeah, if you don't know who that is, you're definitely shooting yourself in the foot. But as far as pricing, yes, I mean, I think most coaches, and I know they're not all beginners here. If you're transforming human lives, I recommend you charge at least $1,000 to $3,000 a month. I don't care if you're a business coach, a fitness related human performance person, a relational person, whatever your expert niche is, at least that much. And you can get up, you can keep raising those prices up and up. Obviously, if you're in business, you can generally charge more because it's more ROI related, but there's still a number of other experts out there who are charging bigger money. So some factors there. I mean, we could talk about pricing for a long time, but definitely I'm a big fan, obviously, of the higher end. It's easier to bring in bigger amounts of money faster, and it's not exponentially harder to sell than the lower ticket stuff. I mean, yeah, you might sell a few more $500 courses than your $5,000 offer, but if you can give more value at the $5,000 offer, it's not exponentially harder to sell. People think, well, it's harder to sell. Not as much as you think to the right person. So there's a lot of mindset stuff there that people need to kind of get past. But so pricing, structure, and positioning, right? So we talked about positioning. If you want to flush that out more, we can. Pricing, we've talked a little bit about that as well. Structuring is how do you structure your offer? I know for me, one of the things I made a mistake of most of my time was just selling too short of engagements. Like I was just selling like a one-off course for $1,000 or $500, a done for you package that was one-off without any back-end retainers. I was selling consulting, but shorter amounts. And I'm always thinking about what is the ideal structure for me? Because some people are more fast start people. They want to turn and burn and kind of move on to the next thing. And some people are more like snowballs, right? Like Warren Buffett's book, The Snowball. He likes to accumulate, So some people want to work with clients for 6 months, a year, 3 years, and if that's you, that's fine. I do recommend you have some kind of a try me offer almost on the front end. So maybe a shorter engagement, and then transition those people to a longer term engagement, because not everybody's ready to get married when they're just meeting you, right? So I do think it's smart to have some kind of a try me offer, and that could be in the form, if you're a business, like a business audit. It could be, some kind of a revenue growth roadmap or something that you do for somebody. Maybe for, a 90-minute session, they pay you a certain amount of money, and then you apply that money, if they like the plan, into the next thing. It could be a shorter term consulting kind of agreement for, let's say, a couple months or 3 months. And then at the end of that, there could be an extension into either some kind of a, retainer, some kind of retainer plus revenue share. I've gotten more interested in, I have a couple of those deals going right now, revenue shares with people. There's equity. I mean, there's basically 3 ways to structure your consulting and coaching, fee, which can be one-off or retainer, equity sharing, or revenue sharing, or even equity in an entire brand. Those are all probably longer topics than we have right now, but there's lots of levers we can pull as far as structuring our offer. And it takes a certain practice, and I'm still practicing myself and getting better at how do I structure a good deal with a client that has some upside for me, is, attractive for them, that's a win-win for both sides. That could be probably a whole nother, discussion, but those are the 3 things around an offer, like pricing, structure, positioning, the words you use, the math you use, the strategy that you use, and the offer is everything, right? No one gives, I don't know if I can cuss on here or not, but no one gives a shit that they're on a webinar, or that they're in your funnel, or anything. They have a problem they think you can help them with. If your offer is not attractive, if it's not irresistible, that's why you're struggling to sell. Either you're just not getting in front of the right people, or your offer just sucks, and so those are the things that matter. So it's so underutilized because it's not sexy. It's not sexy to like spend so much time like on your offer. You're like, what do you mean? I just want to build a funnel and run Facebook ads and stuff. And it's like, that is, I've talked to a ton of people, I'm sure you have too, that have done that. And they're like, why is this not working for me? And, these people are wrong and this doesn't work, and a big part of that is just because, the words, the strategy, the positioning, the offer is just not good. And so that's if you can get that one thing fixed for clients, that a lot of times they'll explode.
Nice. Awesome. So once the foundation is situated, then take us through how to sell to your existing network.
Yes, I'm a big believer in this. There's so much like hidden profit within our current process, right? Our current system. For example, I'm speaking with a guy next week actually who has a software company, and his software company is doing pretty well. He'll make over $1 million this year in sales. And he's not, a huge company, but he does have a low 7-figure business, selling his software product. And here's a guy who could be doing, I look at his business, I go, this guy could be doing at least 30 to 50% more revenue every month. And the reason is because he's not utilizing all of his existing assets. So when I say your existing network, could be your existing network of contacts, could be your existing assets, like your email database, your Facebook following, or LinkedIn contacts, or all of these things that you already have. You don't need to pay money for to bring in new leads. Everybody wants new leads. How do I bring more people into my funnel? And that's important. But if you're listening to this and you're someone who's got a 6-figure business or something like that, and you want to accelerate, I guarantee you there are holes in all of our businesses, mine too, everybody, that you are not utilizing. So for this guy, he's not using his list. He hates email. He never sends emails for his offers. I'm like, look, we could hire a writer. I could take this guy and we could add 30% revenue to his business very quickly. And I'll take a percentage of that. Let's do a deal. Something like that is a way to like structure a deal, or maybe a small retainer plus that or whatever. But there's an example, like he's always worrying about revenue, and how can I increase revenue? He's sitting here A/B split testing his checkout page and all kinds of stuff like that, which is at his level is good to do because he's getting a lot of traffic. I'm not saying that's not a good use of time, but there's all this bigger lever stuff that he's blind to, that he's not using, that is going to dramatically increase his business. So people like that all the time. Like I was just speaking with a gal, I just signed a new client yesterday. She's in the fitness space. Great gal, got a great brand, doing about 20 grand a month now, mostly through an automated webinar funnel, selling a $4,000 group coaching program. And I'm looking at her business. She sends me all her data, all her numbers. Like I look through everything, and there's a few tweaks in the funnel we could be making that could improve the situation. But the first things we're going to do are look at her offer and look at her pricing and her positioning, like we talked about. She's her only thing she has is a $4,000 offer. Is there a way we could add a potential another offer on top of that with a little more value for the right people? Because remember, through phone sales, you get an application, you can read that application like a doctor looks at a form before they go in to see a patient, and they can say, oh, well, this person's in this position, maybe they're making 50 grand a month. Oh, well, I think they would be perfect for my highest offer. Maybe that could be 8,000 instead of 4,000. And maybe the 4,000 is more appropriate for those that are a little lower, So you should have, like, I believe, a range of offerings, of high-end offerings that you can prescribe, like a doctor would prescribe, to that person when you're on the phone with them. So here's a gal who we're going to look at her offers, and I guarantee there's a way to position and create, because she has coaches on her team, even she has a coach on her team even that could help with this, a higher-end offer that would increase her revenue significantly for the best clients. Because there's always the best clients, if you look at the 80-20 rule, there's always a percentage of clients that will pay significantly more for more value. And if you don't have that offer, you're leaving that on the table. So that's one piece we'll look at. The other piece is selling to back to selling to your network and assets, and go off on a rant there. She is, it really doesn't, she has a 10,000 person mailing list. She is not really using it well. She's sending out like a weekly soft newsletter. And I know that she doesn't want to be pushy for her brand and stuff like that. So we'll work out a balance there. But I'm like, well, are you using your mailing list to direct some of those other people who weren't ready to book a call with you right through your first funnel? Are you giving them an opportunity to speak to to you and your team? Well, not really. I'm sending out newsletters, and and I direct them back to the webinar, and I'm like, yeah, okay, like that's great that you're directing them back to the evergreen webinar, but is there a way for your best clients to speak with you more directly, through a more basic filter funnel? Because not everybody wants to watch the webinar, you know. And so that's an example of somebody who's not utilizing their mailing list. She's got no referral network, none. She has no referral partners. She has a Facebook group of about 2,500 people, but she's not really utilizing it much. She's not using the filter, the 3-question filter. I'm a big fan of that, like with the Facebook group, right? Like that's a great opportunity to start conversations again with people. Not really using that. So there's a lot of holes there that we can adjust. Her offer, the way she's using her existing network needs to be better. Not just her funnel. Like everyone wants to fix their funnel, but most of them have all of this potential revenue, especially if you're a little further along. Like she'll probably do $250,000 this year or something like that, at least. Probably more now that we're going to work together. But so that's what I mean by using your existing assets. Maybe it was better to give an example
Yeah.
than.
Can you actually give us some examples? So if somebody has a Facebook group that it's just kind of sitting, um, can you, if the 3-question filter that you mentioned, I believe you're talking about when people try and join your group, Facebook allows you to ask up to 3 questions to
Yep.
qualify people before you accept them. Once people are already in, though, they are not going to hit that again. Can you give us some ideas of maybe how we can engage people in a Facebook group to sell to them as a part of our existing network?
Yes, yeah. So you can host Facebook Lives, right? Like you can do, depending on the frequency. Like if you want to do a weekly, that's fine. Or if you're just looking to do promotions to fill like a push, you can use your group that way too. Facebook Lives are great. Sharing case examples in there are great. You can even just post in there and give value, and then even maybe every couple weeks or so you can post a more direct ask in there. Like a lot of people, one of the problems we all make is we don't ask enough, right? We don't ask for people to join our offers enough, right? And you don't want to be this like total obnoxious jerk, but I become more so. I think like I used to be the ultimate indoctrinator of like, I did like I did a live stream interview show myself back in 2013, I think it was, in the healthcare industry. And I was interviewing entrepreneurs in that because that was my background. I'm a physical therapist, and I was, that's how I kind of got into marketing and, new media stuff. And I didn't have anything to sell really. I was just doing like, I worried all my time about like doing these interviews. And I didn't think enough about, how can I, make a good living with this? Cause that was ultimately my goal. So, um, I don't know how I got onto that, but yeah, you can use Facebook groups. Live streaming is popular. It's a good way to get visible. You can set up events in the group and then get people to your live stream. You can do challenges. I know like our friend Ron Reich's doing that. And a few others I've seen are doing like these little challenges in the group. And then there's, I think, probably a call to action at the end of that or during that challenge to work together. There's some strategies you can use inside of the groups to do that. I love the filter, the 3 questions filter. There's some content you can do in there, promotions you can do in there. But yeah, it's a good strategy for a community. I don't know of a better community platform. I know that they're getting saturated, quote unquote, the groups a little bit. Now, if you use them right, I still see a lot of people doing really well with them. So, you just have to be better at it, I guess.
So, what about for folks like you were mentioning who don't use their email list to ask, and maybe they put out a newsletter, or the people on the list have come through some kind of funnel to get a lead magnet or some sort of value, and then we all know, or I think a lot of us know, what should happen, that nurture sequence, the email marketing, all that stuff. But the truth is, a lot of people don't focus on that. And I'm one of those people, for example. So do you have any suggestions and strategies when it comes to a high end offer, how to re-engage with a list of folks who haven't really heard from you for a while, or you haven't been asking them to take action in some sort of way? Do you have some tangible ideas that we can put to action right away?
As far as an re-engagement sequence or something like that, if you
I
haven't
don't
been
know if
one.
it's a sequence. I mean, if that's what you advise, if you can kind of break
Yeah.
that down, or if there's some other way, if you can, yeah, not some other way, but if you can
Okay.
talk about re-engaging so that you can ask and invite people into, or let them know about your well-structured high-end offer.
Right. Yeah. So there's a couple of email strategies like house lists, and I know the next thing I think we're going to talk about is like how, the filter funnel, which is sort of the front end of that. But as far as like house list or broadcast list strategies for getting more people towards your, basically a phone conversation or a discussion with them on your offer, there's a couple ways you can do it. And I don't have any hard data on this, like as far as like which way is better. I just know that both have worked well for others as well as people I've worked with and myself. Um, and there's sort of a ground in between. So basically, there's like a range almost of how you can use your list. So some people, like Ben Settle, for example, email every day, like our friend Mark Mawini, he does it every day now, and it's sharing an insight, being a little bit entertaining, and then having a soft call to action every day, pretty much. Just insight, you know, teaching, call to action, insight every day. It's pretty much that. And occasionally they'll do a little promo in there or something like that, like a little push for something. But it's pretty much just like, it's like the ask, the give, ask, the give, ask, the give, ask over and over again, give and ask, give and ask. And that's obviously worked well for a lot of people, right? I mean, you stay top of mind. There's a lot of people who recommend that you email consistently. Most of us don't. Most of us are spending, maybe weekly, and, I guess it depends on your mindset. I know you don't want to annoy your list, but you're also a business person looking for your best clients, right? And so if they're not interested, they'll leave. I mean, I've deleted a lot of people off my list. I mean, my list is a lot smaller than it was even, a year ago or 2 years ago when I was doing summits and stuff like that, because a lot of those people they're not a good fit, and that's okay. It doesn't matter that you have, a 6,000 person list instead of a 15,000 person list, so what, right? Especially if you're playing this higher end game where you're just really looking for that top 10% or less, maybe 3% of your potential client pool to work with at a higher price for a longer time and build relationships over time. Like I want to work with less but better people over a longer period of time. That can include, a retainer, that can include a fee, that can include a revenue share or some kind of deal that we do together. That's where my mind is right now. But as far as like back to email, yeah, so you can do the daily frequently, kind of ask, give. I've seen a little bit lesser version of that. That's sort of where I'm at, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. But I do basically a give and an ask, give and an ask. And then occasionally I'll do some kind of like I'm looking for this person, click here. That actually works really well. And sometimes when you are giving the ask, the more direct, the better with the email, or the post, because it's just very clear. I'm looking for this person for this reason. This is who I want. And then on the other end is like, something like, I can't remember who was it I saw that was doing this the other day. But basically they theme the month. So like, let's say your offer has a certain number of big benefits to it for the client, the customer. So they'll say, I have a software that helps with book marketing. Well, one month we could do, keyword research on AMS or something. And one month it could be, how to market your book with partners, or, they theme their months, and then they do content to the list. Like they'll use the list to go, maybe direct them to the Facebook group for a live presentation, or they'll just have content in the emails or whatever that is. And there's like 3 weeks of that, and then 1 week of sort of like a promotion each month. So they'll warm up around that theme, and then they'll do an open, like, here's you've learned about this theme. Here's why this product is awesome. And they put together a little promo, maybe a little bonus or whatever to sell their program. And, if you have more than one program, obviously that's great. If you have one program, you'll have to get a little more creative there. But those are some examples of strategy, like house list strategies I've seen people using, and some of them that I've used in the past.
Sweet. So do you want to jump then into setting up or optimizing your filter funnel and what that means?
Yeah. So I call it the TTFF now, the top 10 filter funnel, because really for me, I'm looking for that top 10%. How do we take our leads and filter up the top 10%, right? And it's a combination of organic, which we talked about, organic, the organic and automation, right? Like you should never just rely on automation and evergreen. Like I think that's a huge mistake, particularly if you're selling higher end services. Now, if you're selling, if you're drop shipping, dinosaur skulls from China to the US or whatever, then I'm not talking to you, right? But if you're, in an expert business, you're wanting to attract more high-end clients, we want to filter out the top 10% of people. I believe it was Chet Holmes who said that roughly 3% of people are ready to act right away, and maybe another 7% or so are ready if they have the opportunity in front of them, or they were convinced to do it, they would do it now. So we're looking for like that top 10% of people who are interested. So, I don't have a diagram for this. I mean, I have one, but we're not showing it right now. But basically what it is, it's a combination of automation and organic. So basically, I'll just describe the funnel and then we can talk about traffic. So basically it's like, a lead magnet, like a squeeze page that gives away some kind of a free thing, right? Like the classic, it's been around for years, still works, give away a free item that's attractive, whether that's a guide or a video or whatever. On the thank you page, or what I call the ask page, is the opportunity for them to, hey, your guide's on the way. You're probably wondering what to do next. If you're like me, you're always wondering what's next. And then there's like some very good copy on the page. There can be a VSL there, like a short VSL, like a video, right? Basically, I've seen people do it without a video too, where they just have good copy and then a button where people can actually click to schedule on your calendar. Now, roughly 3% of people are going to do that. So if you send 100 people through it, whether that's, you're sending Facebook ads, if you're sending, like I do a lot of organic, like through my website, like Google, YouTube, whether that's partners mailing to your guide or whatever it is, you can use all those traffic sources to enter people into this filter funnel. And then, so they have an opportunity right away for that top 3%. And people will say, well, they haven't been indoctrinated enough. Like, why are you doing that? They need to go to a webinar. They need to go to a 3-part video series or whatever that is before they get to that point. And this is why this is different. I'm a believer in getting it quickly. And then after they schedule, they have an application they fill out, right? This is not uncommon. This is kind of the classic thing. What's in that application is very important. So if you're in B2B, you want to block the off-ramps, so to speak, right? So in your application, you should have things like, are you the decision maker of your company? Because you get this excuse a lot. Well, let me talk to my partner. Yeah, so are you the decision maker, or are you able to bring your partner to the call? Are you like what their revenue level is, right? Because that's what as a doctor, you're going to see, are they making 30 a month, 1,000 a month, 50,000 a month, whatever. That will help you prescribe the appropriate offer to them on the phone, or like at least help you. And what other pieces, what other questions do you need to ask? I usually just tell them I have offers that range from this price to this price. Are you financially able to pay at least this much, yes or no? And then I'll know, at least if I get on the call with them, if they click yes, that they're at least telling me that they are able to pay at least the lowest end offer that I have to offer them on the phone. Maybe higher, but that's a big qualifier, right? Because financial is big, right? No matter what you're in. What else? Application questions. I'm blanking more and more now. Those are a couple of the big ones. When are you looking to get started? Are you looking to get started now? Are you shopping around? This is, you don't put your best friend through this, but this is cold traffic, right? So, if someone came to me on Facebook, hey John, I want to talk about working together. Okay, cool. Like I'm not going to make them go through this funnel, right? But if it's organic traffic from my website, which is usually a lot of leads for me, partners mailing to my lead magnet or something, those type of things. I want to filter out the best people. So they go from schedule to application. The application questions are really important because you want to know what what the objections are before they get on the phone with you and try to overcome those even before, right? And so a good application can help you do that, right?
So I'm going to ask you, so you're suggesting schedule and then have them apply, or have them apply when they schedule?
I do the schedule first. So I use schedule once. I have that embedded on a page with social proof on it and stuff like that. They'll book a call on schedule once. Schedule once will redirect them to the next page, which is the application.
Got it.
And if I don't like their application or they don't fill it out, I cancel the call, and I do cancel calls a fair amount.
Got
And I'll
it.
just send them a little message, hey, I didn't get an app, or hey, it doesn't, just letting you know that my offers are maybe not within your range. Here's a link to my blog. You can kind of read up some stuff there. You don't have to be rude about it, but
Yeah.
you also, as you do it more and more, you want to be a wise steward of your energy and your
Right.
time. You don't want to just get on the phone with anybody. And that's why we're filtering. That's part of the filter process is the application. And that's a really important filter component.
So I'm going to just share what I do,
Sure.
because it's just a little bit different. I mean, it's the same thing, but the process is just slightly different. Um, and I have to give a shout out to one of my favorite clients, Acuity Scheduling. I am crazy Acuity user and have been using them for years. And so what I like with them is they have the ability to create intake forms.
Right.
So when people, as you know, like I use it for my podcast, I use it for my qualification calls, for everything. Even just if somebody I know wants to reconnect and say, hey, let's hop on a call for a virtual coffee, even I have forms for that. So with Acuity, you can set it up where the person can pick the open slot, but they can't actually,
Right.
it's not booked until they answer the questions. But even still, sometimes I have people book a slot without answering the questions, and then I can go in and do the same exact thing like you were saying. Like I'll send them a message and say, hey, it's
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
some other kind of value that I add. But once I qualify and recognize, like getting a call on a call with them, as much as I love them, I have a lot of free content. I put a lot out there to support people who aren't in a position or interested in
Sure.
purchasing. So just thought I would
Yeah.
share that
Yeah.
additional
Yeah.
from a different tool perspective.
Yeah. 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 And you know what? Yeah, that works fine. You will get less calls that way, but that's okay. There's different
See, I
philosophies on
want
that.
more. I want less calls though.
Well, I do
I want
too.
only qualified calls.
I do too, and I think that you can do it that way, and I do it that way as well. Like if I don't know that they have a good likelihood of being a good client, I just won't do it, right? So that's fine. You'll book less calls, and there's maybe a chance that you might have someone who would have been qualified that didn't because they saw the form and had to run or something or whatever that might be. But I get wanting to guard yourself and make them go through the gauntlet a little bit, so to speak, to get to you. That shows that they're committed.
That's also what I've realized, and this is turning into more of a conversation, but I hope it's really valuable for our listeners. Something that I've realized over the past 6 to 12 months, it was really in this year, is that my best clients will do everything I tell them, and I'm extremely high touch. And those are the clients I love. Like those are the
Sure.
clients who feed me energy. The clients who don't follow through, the clients who don't take action, or they only get partial stuff done, like I can't represent them well. As a publicist, I've got to be in it in a partnership. And so what I've recognized is I want to put more barriers, because that will show me who's willing to jump through the hoops, because there's a lot of people that do quote what I do, but they don't. They do it in very different ways. And because of my expectation for excellence, like I have to have clients that meet me where my expectations are. And so just something you just said just really triggered that. Is it's just been so clarifying this past year. And
Sure.
now I know, like I have no hard feelings if people think it's too much. I'm like, that's awesome. Fabulous. I'm so not the right person for you, because if you think this is a lot, wait till we start working together.
Right. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So, however you want to do it, yeah, you definitely want to filter out. And I agree with you. You know, you want to work with the best people that you know, and the best clients are what you said. They come right in, they book, they fill out everything, they show up, they respond with you. You know, the whole process, right? Like they're engaged and interested. They write a lot. Like you can always tell who the best clients are going to be because they write a lot in the application. They write bigger paragraphs, or they take the time to do that, right? You can tell when somebody's very interested in working with you, right? So,
And focus on solutions and what they're
yeah,
looking for opposed to the problems they're struggling with, right?
right.
Find that?
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. So, so yeah, either way for the funnel, you know, if you want to lead with the application and the call, you know, you'll get less calls, but you know, that's fine. Or you can just do what I'm doing, which is, you know, looking at the information and then deciding whether I want to cancel the call or not. But yes, you don't want to just, you know, especially as you go along a little further, you want to preserve your energy. We only have so much energy, right, in our lives. So we need to use that towards our biggest goals consistently every day. So I agree with you. After they fill out an application, they're then taken to a page that starts the indoctrination process, right? So, like, let's say someone who's coming through my website, they book a call, they fill out their application. Great. Now they might not really know me that well yet, right? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I mean, if you put my name into Google, there's tons of videos and interviews and stuff. So that's obviously helping me. Like clients can literally put my name in and like see about hours of content now. Um, but you know, not everybody has that to start with, right? Either. But yeah, so basically, you're getting that top 3%. They're ready. They book. Now you need to start the indoctrination process. See, a lot of people think in all cases that you have to indoctrinate first, but my experience, and I don't know what your thoughts are, that a lot of the busiest, best clients don't want to go through a massive gauntlet of information. They don't necessarily want to go through an hour webinar before they have a button that appears to click to apply. You know, so it's a balance between running the gauntlet versus not, right? We don't want to be so inaccessible that the clients, they're just like, you know, I don't have time for this shit. Like, you know, like what I mean? So I flipped that part around. So after people book, they hit a page where, hey, congrats, we got your application. We're going to review it. You know, here's how to get the best out of our up and coming call. And here's what I want you to do before the call, you know? And so there's a couple strategies. You can have content, like power content, like watch at least one of these before the call or something. And, you know, it could be, and again, not everybody has this stuff, but you know, I have like videos of me speaking on stage, or, you know, a podcast interview, or a video interview I did, or something like that. I have some nice professional ones that I put on there. And, you know, not everybody watches all of it, but some people will. Like I've had some people get on the phone like, oh my God, I watched like tons of your videos and stuff. They're already sold on you, right? So that's one strategy, because we want to get them to start. You want to indoctrinate people, right? You want them to start consuming you and seeing you as an authority before they even get on the call with you. Another thing you could do is link to a video series from that page or something. I've seen people do that both before webinars, actually, off the thank you page. Like, here, watch this before the webinar. You could do this, watch this before the call, so that you really are warming that person up, so that they see you as an authority. They understand, they hear your voice, they see you, they're more comfortable with you. Some clients just get a feel for you. Like they see you on video like this, and they're like, oh, you know, that person doesn't seem like a snake oil person. Like they're just looking to be straight with me. I like that. I want to work with you, you know? So that's what happens after they book, is they actually start consuming authority, building content, positioning content. I have a couple emails that will go out before the call too. So like, hey, just confirming, maybe a couple hours later, we got your application, and your assistant can do this if you have an assistant. Hey, you know, so we got your application. So-and-so is going to be excited to speak with you. Here's the date and time, and then give them the agenda of the call. Like you're controlling the frame of the call, like not in a jerky way, but like frame control is really important in these conversations.
So
Not in
smart.
a domineering way, but like in a like you're applying way. And so you're setting the agenda. You're telling them right up front. Your assistant could link to your bio or some other authority building content again in the email, or send them to the series if you have a video series before the call. Those are some ways to, again, indoctrinate. And then for some people, if it's really cold traffic, you can have your assistant send one more email that really just confirms, hey, you know, we're about to do your call with so-and-so. Just wanted to double check. I know you filled some of this out on the application, but that you've consumed some of the material we've sent you. You're a decision maker for your company, and this would be B2B, obviously. You're financially able to commit to a range if you like what you hear. You want to, the biggest objections are money, timing. Oh, I got too much to do. This doesn't fit. Like, oh, I'm not sure if this fits with what I'm doing. So you need to know that and be able to block or to know those objections, and then gather as much information as you can before you get on the call with them. So that and it doesn't always work out, but it's exponentially more likely that they'll be a good fit for you. Your close rate will go up significantly if you want to work with them. Like, I've turned people down too, but
That's
it's
something that I've really this year also is I used to do calls and come from a place of, okay, I'm the service provider and of course I have to like them, but this is about me sharing with them how I can help them. And it's like I don't do that anymore at all. I totally flip it, and it's about them
yep,
sharing with me confidence that I can help them. And so it's a
yeah,
different kind of qualification, I think. That's been
yeah.
huge for me. And I
I've
turn
even
down most people actually.
And that's great. We want to work with the best clients we can at the best price, and work with less but better. And like, for me, my ideal would be to have a handful of clients I advise. They pay me well. I have a revenue stake or some kind of equity share in their brands, and I can make 7 figures doing that. Like, I don't really want a big. I used to be like pitching courses, and I did a ton of JV circuit things and all kinds of stuff. I'm just done with it for myself. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just that's where I'm at. And so,
I'm right there with you.
so I'm looking to filter out those clients, as you are, and a lot of that is positioning and frame control. Oren Clef has a great book called Pitch Anything. It talks about frames, and it's a guy who's pitched multi-million-dollar deals and stuff. It is important to control the frame, and we'll talk about the call here in a second. I know I'm getting a little long-winded, but that's the basic top part of the funnel. And again, about 3% are going to book with you. The other 97% are not ready. And let's say out of that other 97%, maybe 7% of those people, and maybe that's a little high, could potentially be a good client. So we need to filter out the rest of those people. So what then that goes into your auto response sequence in your funnel. You send them the free gift. I usually send people a link in the first 2 hours after they sign up to my Facebook group, so they can go through my Facebook group and also go through my 3-question filter. And also get into that. So every lead should also be a community member, I feel. So I built a Facebook group around that, and have clients do that as well sometimes. And then open rates for your emails are going to be really high within the first 12 hours after someone opts in. So you want to take advantage of that time by sending them 2 or 3 emails, like in the first few hours. Digital marketer, we were talking about that at Digital Marketer last year. Like, the open rates and the click rates are extremely high for the first day, basically, and then they slowly dwindle, right? So you want to use that time period. I'm a big fan of that. Then I have them go through basically what's called a soap opera sequence. I don't know if you've heard of that, but Andre Chaperone was famous for coming up with that. Russell Brunson's also kind of championed it as basically, if you've ever seen, like, one of the guilty pleasures I'll admit to you on air here is my wife and I, since we moved to Reno, we've been watching the Bachelor shows. I haven't seen them in like 3 or 4 years probably, but it's like, oh, she loves it. I'm actually subconsciously kind of like, oh, I have to watch what's next, So it's similar to that with our emails autoresponders. It's like, you want to have fun, you want to share insights, you want to be entertaining, you want to be a little edgy, but you want to like tie one email to the next and the next and the next and the next, right? Like, so you want to hint at the next email at the end of each email, and sort of keep pulling people through this soap opera sequence of events that indoctrinate them a little bit to you, to your results with your clients, getting them to, again, consume more of you. All of those emails can have a soft call to action to get on the phone. And then pretty much after that, that's pretty much the end of the automation. And then I bring people, you can either continue that automation, like some people have like 2-month autoresponder sequences. That's okay. Or you can dump people onto a house list and do what we talked about earlier with some of the email strategies. So that's basically what it is.
Fantastic. Sweet. So we've got about 10 more minutes. Do you want to go into sales skills for enrolling the right clients? And then we will wrap up with my listeners knowing where they can go to continue the conversation with you.
Yeah, great. I'll try to keep this pithy because I know I've been going on here. So yeah, phone conversation. So part of this is philosophy, part of this is strategy. We've talked a lot about, I think we're both on the same page. We want to work with less but better clients, with deals that have potential to go somewhere for a period of time, not necessarily just a one-off deal or let me get your credit card as any way I can on the phone kind of thing, which is taught by a lot of people out there as like the hardcore closer types. That's not really me. I'm not looking at volume. I'm not looking to funnel a bunch of people into what I call a coaching farm where I have like 25 or 30 other people, and, together that, fighting over a Q&A session. That's for me, that's just not what I'm doing right now. I don't think I probably ever will. But yeah, as far as like, again, it's what happens before the call is huge, right? Like you've talked about getting people to go through a bit of a process to have it consume some of you before the call is big. Some people are doing 15-minute like kind of meet and greet calls, like with an assistant, have an assistant screen first. I don't necessarily think that's a bad strategy. I'm not currently using it, but if you're doing the volume game more, that's not a bad idea. I personally am not doing that much volume. I'm just looking for a few really good people I can partner with and over time. So I usually take the calls myself, and I'll spend 45 minutes to an hour sometimes with somebody. But here's the thing. It's important to control the frame of the call without being a jerk, so if you're not asking the questions, you're not in control of the frame. Like you're not in control of the call. So we've all gotten onto a phone call with a client who's like, they're asking a billion questions and you can barely get it. And that might not be your best client always, if they're not willing to give you control of the call because they're, you're deciding on them basically, or that kind of situation. So you want to be asking questions. And I look at it, I look at it now like a doctor session basically. So here's my doctor's sales script or whatever for phone enrollment or whatever. First thing I like to do is build a little rapport, obviously. Hey, how's it going? 5 minutes maybe, how's it going? And I usually look at where they're living and talk a little bit about that and what they're doing. And then as that sort of lulls, I'll get into like, okay, well, I'm excited to talk a little bit more about your business. First off, tell me what caused you to reach out to me specifically right now. And you get them to talk, well, I saw you on Google and came to your website and watched a video of yours and I really like your hair or something. I don't know, and decided to enroll. Exactly. You get that a lot. Yeah, that's great. And so you're getting them to kind of talk, why are they reaching out to you specifically? And then I want to hear like, okay, sounds good. So let's dive in more to your current situation. Tell me a little bit more about that. And you're really at this point, and by the way, I always have a blank sheet of paper next to me. I always, after looking at their application, will think out maybe 2 or 3 offers I could make to them. The highest offer, and then a few downsell offers if I need to, if they're just not ready to commit at that level yet. That's how I do it. And then at this point in the conversation, tell me about your current situation. I ask them about, their current situation. What I'm looking for is what are their constraints? Or I'll say, what are the constraints that are stopping you? In your application, you said you want to go from 20,000 to 50,000 a month in revenue. Or if you're a health coach, you're going from this point to this point, or relationship point from this point to this point. What do you feel is the constraint? Why, what's stopping you? And you want to write down like a couple of those 2 or 3 biggest things. So in a doctor sense, you're looking to diagnose the problem, right? Like you need to be able to diagnose the situation. The doctor doesn't just come in and look at you without doing anything and say, well, I think you got, pancreatic, or gallstones, or I don't like, dude, like, how do you know? Like, so they obviously they pull out some information so they can diagnose the situation. And that's what I would do as well. And we want to gather what they're struggling with, so we can later diagnose. So that would be the next step after, and this takes maybe 15, 20 minutes of digging through problems and digging up problems. Okay. So yeah, I say, okay. So based on what you've told me, I think the best way, or no, sorry, that's the next step. So the diagnosis would be, okay, so based on what you're telling me, you're having this and this problem. And then you do a little bit of like prescribing, right? So prescribing, educating them a little bit, not in depthly, but like you want to break their frame. You want to break what they're doing, not in a NLP weird way or anything, but just like, these are some things you're probably not doing right, or you're not doing well enough, or here's some things that we should work on, consider working on. So they've told you what the problem is. Now you're prescribing them based on the diagnosis, kind of like, here's what I think would help you. And then you're kind of getting them to agree to that. Yeah, great. That's good. Like, and then, maybe about 40 minutes or so into the conversation or less, it doesn't have to be that long. You can say, well, you know what, based on what you've shared with me, you're having this problem, and this problem, and I think that we can work on this solution. I think the best way that I could help you is X. And I'll give them, if I feel like based on their application, if I feel like they're financially qualified, and I like their personality, and you've got that all at this point, in front of you, you can say something like, you can give them your highest offer if you feel like they're financially qualified. So if they're making $10,000 a month and they're on the phone with you and you offer them, a $15,000 offer and it's all due up front, it might be a little tough for some people. You might get some pushback. And that goes back to our offers, which is, how do we creatively craft our offer structure to make it a little easier, only if you want to work with that kind of person. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're like, screw off. No, I only work with people at this price. And you can do however you want. Part of that's your personality. Part of that is just who you want to work with too. But if you're looking to bring in more clients, is there a way to get them in a little smoother? So it's a little bit of an art to it, like prescribing the right thing for them. Because if you just have one offer and that's it, that's okay. You'll just maybe not get as many clients, and that might be your strategy too. It really just depends on your strategy, right? So I'll usually prescribe at that, or I'll offer at that point the offer that I feel is appropriate, and then I'll just shut up, right? Like, you want to shut up. At that point, you're not selling anymore. Like, a lot of people will keep selling, like, oh, well, it's like, shut up. You've told them the offer. Don't speak until they say something. And then and they'll usually say, some people will say, like, I had a gal yesterday, I'm in, that sounds great. Like, fuck, all right, cool. Like, let's do it. So we get the information, the contract and everything like that. But some people, I shouldn't say most, if you get better at filtering it, hopefully is less and less, but there'll be some questions, like, what does this look like? And you don't want to hit them over the head with a ton of details. Like, you can say, hey, you know what? You're going to get unlimited access to me. We're going to work, every week. We're going to have at least a check-in. We're going to start off with a 90-minute like kind of strategy session to kind of kick this off, and very high level granular stuff. If they ask, what is this about? Or another objection. So you need to know your objections at this point. So you should have, like, literally in your, like, I have a phone framework that I have in front of me. Like, I still have it open, so it keeps me on track. And you should have your objections written down in that script. So, like, if their objection is money, what are you going to say? If you want to work with them, maybe you don't, maybe you do. Could you offer a payment plan? Could you have a downsell offer that you don't mind? Maybe they're not going to buy your 5K program, but maybe they'll buy your 2K done by themselves course. Do you have a downsell offer? Another one's timing. You need to have something to say around that. You need to have, I need to speak with my business partner. What are you going to do in that situation? Because some people will still get through. Your filter isn't going to be perfect. You should have those objections ready to go so that you can deflect those. That assumes that you want to work with them, obviously. But we could have a lot of conversations on the whole phone piece, but I don't know if that gives you kind of an idea of how I personally do it. I don't know if it's the best way, but that's how I do it,
I think it's been great. And
Okay,
I
cool.
think people are taking lots of notes, and you've given us tons to think about and to implement. So that's what I encourage people to do, is that, I'm sure everybody, if whoever's still with us now, you've taken some golden nuggets away from this. So take a look at, what can I add to what I'm already doing, or tweak about what I'm already doing, and test and see how that works for me. I mean, I've got, front and back notes myself, John. So things that you've said have been like, oh, that's really clarifying. Oh, you know what? Let me test that and try that. So wherever people are at, wherever I'm at, I know there's always ways for me to improve. And so that's the really cool thing about talking to really smart people like you, because we always get different perspectives. And so, yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm a little bit of a fire hose there. I know we only had an hour, so people might have to rewatch that a little bit.
Definitely. Well, the video's here, the audio is here. The great thing about my podcast is it is free content. You don't even have to give me your email address to get it. So people can go back and back and back as many times as they want. Speaking of which, though, if they want more from you, what can they do
Yep.
to get on your list and to have a conversation with you?
Yeah. So if you want to see how it all works, you can go over to jonschumacher.com. You can opt in there. I have a free giveaway on my website. You can see, kind of the processes that I've just talked about there. So jonschumacher.com, or if you want to go to a specific page to see the actual lead magnet, it's jonschumacher.com/conversion. That'll get you to the landing page. Otherwise, you can put my name into Google or YouTube and watch a lot of videos, and that'll get you to my website too. There's contact forms if you want to reach out there. That works fine too.
And it is all on the show notes. So in case you're like, wait a minute, is that John with a H or not? P.S. It's not.
Yep.
And Schumacher, wait, how do you spell that? Just come over to the website for the show notes page, and I'll have all of that for you. But it is jonschumacher.com. Do you want to spell that out for people?
Sure. Yeah. My name gets butchered a lot. So it's Jon, Jon, so no H. So Jon, Schumacher, Schumacher, like the race car driver guy. I'm not related that I know of.
Fantastic. Any final thoughts or words of wisdom you want to leave my listeners with before we hang up?
Yeah, really focus on crafting your offer. If you're struggling to make sales, it really comes down to that. I've had offers that didn't work many times. I've had some that did. But it really comes down to your offer. Look at your current assets and say, how could I be using them better? It's such a missing piece, even for people that are making good money. There's lots of opportunities there. If you're going to build a funnel, I think it's a good thing to do. I don't think you need as much of an elaborate funnel, just a simple way to bring people to you, and make sure that they're as filtered and indoctrinated as much as possible. I think that's big. And then, as far as phone sales, like we talked about, the simple doctor framework that I share, I think works fine, especially if people are properly warmed up to you. What happens before the call is really, really, really important. So focus on that. A lot of people miss that. They have someone book a call and then there's nothing in between. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, why did I schedule with you? It's like, there needs to be a process, right?
For sure. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. Thanks.